Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today at our STEM Education in the U.S. Webinar presented by Rachel Gallo from Milwaukee School of Engineering in Wisconsin. Today we will discuss STEM education in the USA, including different STEM degrees and career options, benefits of a STEM degree in the U.S., the types of universities that there are available in the U.S., a little bit about the financial aid and application process for U.S. universities. And we will also do a Q&A that you could put in the Q&A box. We'll do that at the end. But you could put the questions as we go along. And just a reminder that this session is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel next week. So let me introduce Rachel.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Rachel Gallo. I'm the Assistant Director of International Admissions at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. So during the presentation today, we're going to go over STEM majors, types of universities, application process, tuition and scholarships, and then I'm going to share a little bit about the Milwaukee School of Engineering specifically. Do next slide. Awesome. So we're going to start with some STEM majors. Thank you. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So STEM is a really large field and lots of different things encompass STEM. So there's biology, chemistry, physics, so natural sciences, engineering, there's tons of different engineering options. Technology, you might think more on the computer end, IT, and then math, things like statistics, analytics, other sorts of math-related fields. Next slide, please. Thank you. So like I mentioned, STEM degrees overlap. When you're studying engineering, you need to have a strong science and math background. Technology is going to be a part of any field you go into within the STEM degree field. So you really have to be passionate about all these things in order to pursue a STEM field. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just some different career options for each component of STEM. So with science, you might think of natural science like physics we were just talking about, veterinary science, biological science, biotechnology. Next slide. So technical support specialist, something about IT, helping people with their issues with their computers. Data analysis, this might be more business related or software related, and then web developers, so thinking about software engineering and things of that sort. And then engineering, a really wide field is within engineering. So we have civil engineering, thinking about building structures, also architectural engineering would be in there. Mechanical engineer, so thinking about product development. Biomedical engineering, looking at the health field and creating prosthetics, for an example. And then electrical engineering, so think about everything that needs electricity, lights, doing that sort of engineering. And then math. You need math in every sort of STEM field or career you will go into. So actuarial science, that is a field where you're looking at risk management. Oftentimes you'll work for insurance companies. You could be an astronomer, aerospace engineer, so designing planes, or an economist, so more on the business side of things. So why should you get a STEM degree? We'll take a look at some things. First is the financial benefit of getting a STEM degree. You can see there the difference between an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. So your earnings per year are going to increase drastically when you get that bachelor's degree, specifically in the STEM field. Next slide. So top paying college majors. So when we're looking at all the different majors in the United States, what are the top paying ones? You can see they are all in the STEM fields. We have computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical, chemical, industrial, information technology, civil engineering, statistics, nursing. So 73% of STEM jobs require a bachelor's degree. So if you are thinking about going into the STEM field, know that it is likely to be required that you possess a bachelor's degree. And then 93% of STEM jobs have wages above the national average. So you'll be making more than any other field that's outside of STEM. The next slide. Thank you. So there's a lot of expected growth within the STEM field. So you might be thinking, you know, I wonder how many jobs are going to be in this field. Well, good news, they're all growing. So occupations outside of STEM, so not STEM related, those are projected to grow about 4% in the next 10 years. STEM jobs are expected to increase 8%, and computer specifically, computer occupations, think of computer engineering, software engineering, those are projected to increase by 11.5%. So there's going to be a lot of jobs available within the STEM field and specifically within the computer realm. So what are the benefits of earning a degree in STEM? Again, we just kind of talked about high salaries and the growing career field. There's flexibility. You know, when you study an engineering degree, you are having a flexible degree where you can do a lot of different careers for a company. Job satisfaction, impact on society, so you're helping advance the world technologically. And then you'll have a diverse workforce. You'll have a lot of, you know, you might have coworkers from all over the world, but there's also going to be diverse jobs and responsibilities within that workplace. So STEM OPT. OPT is what you receive after you graduate from the university in the United States. So you might be wondering, can I even work in the US after I graduate? The answer is yes. You are eligible to work for 1 year through STEM OPT. However, when you complete a STEM designated program, so say for example, you come to the US and you study civil engineering, you are eligible for STEM OPT, which grants you an additional 2 years of work. So if you study STEM in the United States, instead of only being able to stay for 1 year to work, you get to stay for 3 years total. So that's a pretty nice benefit of getting into the STEM field as well. And that's because the US is really looking for people to stay and work in the STEM field. We need people in those jobs, which is why they extend OPT for those individuals. Next slide. Thank you. So some common questions to consider when you're thinking about a university. So when you're looking at a university and you maybe want to apply to that school, first, make sure they offer the program you're looking for. So there are, I think, over 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States. Not every college and university is going to offer the same programs. So if you're thinking about going into the STEM field, for example, make sure you're looking at colleges or universities that have a strong STEM program. Other schools might be more heavily focused towards the liberal arts. So if you're thinking about going into psychology, that's the kind of school you'd want to look into. And then you want to think about what you are interested in. Are you interested in doing research after you graduate, or do you want to go right into the industry and work a job? So some universities are more research focused, some are more hands-on application. The school I work for, we are not research-based. We are definitely industry preparation. We prepare students to go work in the industry right away after graduating. You also want to see if universities have connections to companies in their local area. So what kind of network does the school have? You want to attend a school that has a really strong network with companies, because this is going to translate into more job opportunities. So look at the career services page on any university or college you're looking at and see what kind of partnerships they have with companies in the area. Are they good companies? Are they companies you're interested in working for? That's a really important step to look into. And then you'll also want to look at the student organizations that are on campus. Does the school, the college, the university you're looking at provide professional societies that you can join? So think about Student Nurses Association, American Society of Civil Engineers. This is going to look really good on your resume if you're involved in a professional group during your time in school. You're also going to want to work an internship during your time at college or university in the United States. Internships are a key component that companies are going to look for when they hire you for a full-time position. So, it's really hard to get a job without having worked an internship. Internships are going to be that temporary job that you work during school. Most of our students will work an internship during the summer months, but you get to network with that industry, with a company, get that experience, working in a professional setting. You also get a taste of what field you're going into. So if you do a civil engineering internship, you'll find out if you like that field. Maybe you don't like it and you want to switch majors. It's going to be career development. Again, you're learning more about your career, learning about a specific niche in your field. And again, it's going to be a resume builder. So there's lots of things that internships add to your portfolio that's really going to help you get a job when you graduate from school. Next slide, thank you. So the STEM return on investment. STEM degrees are found to provide a high return on investment. This means that, yes, some United States are pretty expensive. They're going to be more on the expensive end than other schools. However, the return you get after graduating is deemed to be really high. So you might pay a little bit more for education in the US, but the salary you're making after that graduation is high and is worth the investment to most students. So what do admissions counselors look for when you're applying to a STEM program? So for the academic side, every school in the United States is going to look for a high cumulative GPA. So it's really important to see that you have done well in your studies. They also may look at your math and science courses to see what kind of grades you have. They're going to want to see that you have a strong science and math background, potentially pre-calculus or calculus. And then if you have any standardized test scores, such as SAT or ACT, they'll want to see that as well. Some schools in the United States are test optional right now. The school I'm from, we are currently test optional, so we do not require those kinds of tests. And then AP courses, so if you do an AP-based curriculum, we do accept those as well. And then non-academics. So some schools will look at your involvement in extracurriculars that are focused around STEM. So did you do a robotics group in high school? Did you do any sort of computer classes? They might look at that. Science Olympiad is pretty popular. And then again, did you do any internships in high school that would relate to your major? So those are things you'll want to look for. Next, we're going to go into types of university in the United States. So first you have to think about what degree are you pursuing. I imagine most of you listening in right now are interested in pursuing your undergraduate degree, which would be that bachelor's. But you can kind of think about after your bachelor's, would you want to go on to graduate school, which is an additional 2 years to get your master's. There's different regions in the United States. The US is a huge country and there are lots of different climates in the United States. So when thinking about, if you're interested in studying, where you want to study and what kind of climate it's going to be. So I am located in the light blue area. That is where our school is. So it does get cold here in the winter, but the summers are super nice. So if you're flexible with what kind of climate you are living in, you can really live all over. If you only want the warm parts of the United States, you'll have to go more south. So urban versus rural, there's going to be schools that are in a city and schools that are out in a rural part of the United States. So you do have to think about the opportunities that present themselves. In a city, for example, you're likely to have more opportunities to connect with companies, get internships, because there's more businesses in a city. Compared to the rural, there might not be as many opportunities, but could still be a really great experience. You also have to think about if you want to attend a private or public institution. So price of tuition will differ if you go to a private or public institution. Oftentimes, private colleges are associated with a higher tuition. Size of institution, public schools are known for being a bit larger than private institutions. Religious affiliations, some private universities may have a religious affiliation. I work for a private university and we do not have a religious affiliation, so it's really up to the school. Regional student diversity, so it kind of depends. When you're looking at public schools, they have more students, so they might have students from all over the world, more of them. Private students or private institutions might as well. Prestige of institution. Private institutions are often associated with higher prestige, but that does not mean that public institutions are not great schools to attend. And then degree offerings. Public schools often offer a wide variety of majors and careers that you can pick from. Private schools often have a little fewer to select from. The school I work for example, we have about 16 majors because we really focus on STEM degrees and don't offer liberal arts degrees, for example. And then think about what you're comfortable with for class size. Do you like being in a small classroom with just a few students? You're able to ask questions, or do you prefer a large classroom such as a lecture hall where there's maybe 500 students? So you also have to look at the size of the institution to get a feel for what the size of the classrooms are going to be. If you go to a very large college, chances are your classes are also going to be very large. So you kind of have to think about how that's going to impact your interaction with your professors. If you learn best being in a small group, you'll want to take that into consideration. And then a little bit about the application process. So typical documents that are required by universities and colleges in the US is going to be the application first and foremost. Some schools require a fee, some do not. We'll want your official transcripts, English proficiency, but being from the UK, you would not need that. Copy of passport and the financial guarantee. So showing proof of funding for 1 year is what's needed for your visa appointment. Some schools may also require an ACT or SAT, letters of recommendation, or a personal statement or essay. Also, when you're applying to schools, make sure you understand what their admissions process is. So there can either be regular admissions or rolling admissions. So regular admissions is when there is a deadline you need to apply by. Rolling admissions means you can apply whenever. So make sure you look at that carefully, because if there is a deadline for a school you want to apply to, you obviously don't want to miss that deadline. Next slide. So cost of attendance. When looking at universities and colleges you're interested in, you do have to think about how much can I afford, what's my financial ability for this school. So you'll want to think about tuition, books. You'll want to think about housing, meal plans, health insurance. These are all costs that you'll want to think about that make up, your attendance at that school. Next slide. Thank you. Financial aid. So most schools offer scholarships to students. With international students, you are not eligible for federal aid. So you're not eligible for aid from our government, but you may be eligible for aid from your own government in your home country or a grant from them. So grants and scholarships are money you do not need to pay back. A loan, that is borrowing money from a bank, for example, you would have to pay that back. And then work study, that is just a job on campus. That likely won't pay for your tuition, but it does help a little bit. And then a paid internship. Again, working internships is really important. Not going to cover your full tuition likely, but it will help. Next slide. Thank you. All right, so that's kind of my presentation on STEM education in the United States as a whole, what to look for in universities, a little bit about that application process. I am going to talk about my school specifically now that I am representing today, which is the Milwaukee School of Engineering. Next slide. Thank you. So just an overview of MSOE. I just kind of mentioned previously, I hinted at that we are a STEM specific school. So we really just have 16 majors that focus on the STEM field. Last year's, oh, sorry, can you go back, please? Thank you. So last year's rankings, we were ranked 10th in the United States for engineering undergraduate programs, which is really awesome. And within that, we do have individual rankings for our programs as well. So you can see there, actuarial science was ranked 2nd in the United States. Our computer engineering was ranked 5th in the United States. Electrical engineering, civil engineering, and mechanical also have those top ratings. We're an application-oriented curriculum, which I'll talk a little bit about later. We also have a nursing program. So that is a STEM field major. We had 90% of students pass the NCLEX pass rate, which is the test they take to get their licensure. So that's really high compared to the national average. And then we do have a brand new computer science program, and we do have a supercomputer on campus, which is awesome and very rare. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So we're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is right where the map shows. We are about 90 minutes north of Chicago. So if you know where Chicago is, we are about an hour, hour and a half away from Chicago, which is awesome. We're located right on Lake Michigan, same as Chicago. So it is a big city, but we have really beautiful scenery with the lake right there. And there's lots of things to do within walking distance. So you can kind of see some photos here. But Milwaukee School of Engineering is located in the safest district of Milwaukee. So it is a really safe part of the city where our campus is, and there's lots of fun things to do. So just to capture our university size, we are just under 3,000 students. So we are a smaller institution. Of that, we have about 150 international students from over 40 different countries right now. So we have a really diverse group of international students. We also have international faculty. And we focus, all the students will focus on, during their time here, on the practical application of theory that they're learning in the classroom. So I'm going to go quick programs. We have different groupings. We have building and construction, which houses architectural engineering, civil engineering, and construction management. Construction management is not engineering based, but it's still STEM affiliated. But if you're not quite as strong in math and you're looking for some STEM degree to do, that's a really great option. You're not actually working on a construction site, you are actually managing the team there. So it's more business focused. Computers, we have computer engineering, software engineering, computer science, and user experience. For our general engineering majors, we have biomedical, biomolecular, which actually is name just changed to chemical and biomolecular engineering. We have electrical, industrial, and mechanical. And then the catch-all for everything else is our math, business, and nursing programs. So we have actuarial science, lots of different business programs such as finance and accounting, and then a nursing program. We also have graduate programs. So we have masters in architectural, civil, and general engineering. We have lots of business masters. The MS Engineering Management listed there. That is a great master's program for those of you who get an engineering degree but want to become managers in your field. That's really going to prepare you. We also have masters for nursing, perfusion, and then masters in machine learning. So a little bit about how our educational philosophy works at MSOE. So we are a direct entry institution. This is much different than most schools in the United States. What this means is when you apply, for example, you apply to our computer science program, when you're accepted to MSOE, you are automatically accepted into the computer science program, and you do not have to apply for it later on. This is different from other schools. Other schools might require you to do general education courses, so such as English, history, and psychology for the first 2 years, and then you'll do your major specific classes. But at MSOE, we do not require that many general education courses. You are going to do your major specific courses, so your computer science courses, right away starting in your first semester. So that's really important. We want your degree and your curriculum while you're at MSOE to be focused on what field you're going into. We don't feel strongly that you need to take 2 years of history classes. We find it's more beneficial for you to take 4 years of computer science courses. So lots of hands-on learning is going to happen here. If you work best and you learn best by using your hands, this is a great school for that. You will spend most of your time in labs applying what you learned in lecture in a hands-on setting. You also get to participate in a year-long senior design project. This is where you and about 4 other students in your program get partnered with a company in the Milwaukee area, and you actually work on solving a problem for them. For the entire year, you create a research project and you present to them at the end of the year. A really cool one is if you are in the architectural engineering program, you actually work with a company to create a building that they want to build, and they'll actually take those blueprints and build the students' project most of the time. So that's a really cool experience. We have small class sizes. Our class sizes are about 20 to 25 students with a 13-to-1 student to professor ratio. And then we don't have any professors, we don't have any teaching assistants or graduate assistants. It's always the professor teaching the lecture in the lab. So our professors on average come in with about 7 years of industry experience. This is really important to us. We want them to prepare you for the industry. Again, we're not a research institution. A little bit about cost information. So this current academic year, tuition was $48,421. Living expenses, so that's housing and meals, was $13,562. And then health insurance was $2,175. So that brings the total to $64,158. However, every single accepted international student will receive a $25,000 merit scholarship from MSOE per year. So over the course of 4 years, you will get $100,000 in scholarship from MSOE just by being accepted. You don't have to apply for it. It is automatically added to your account. With that scholarship, the per year cost comes down to around $40,000. So again, you might say, this is really expensive compared to other schools. It is, but we are ranked very high for return on investment, meaning that our average starting salary of our graduates is $71,000 per year, which is much higher than the national average. And then we also have a 99% job placement rate. That means 99% of students have jobs before they even graduate. That's because MSOE has really strong partnerships with companies in the Milwaukee area. So where do our interns and graduates work? They work all over, but some Milwaukee-based companies are Harley-Davidson, Johnson Controls, GE Healthcare, but students will go on to bigger companies such as Amazon, Tesla, Google. We have ties to NVIDIA, that company out in Silicon Valley. So students really go all over the world to work. And then about our admissions requirements. So what does it take to get accepted to MSOE? We will look for a 3.0 cumulative GPA on the American grading system. For business or construction management, you just need a 2.8. You don't personally need English requirements, but for non-English speaking countries, they are required to submit a TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. You do not have to submit the ACT or SAT. If you want to, you definitely can, and we will take a look at it. Strong math and science background. We'll ask for your financial guarantee showing proof of funding for 1 year. because you need that for your visa appointment, and then a copy of your passport. So right there is the link to our application. It is free to apply, free to get accepted. So it doesn't hurt trying to apply at all. We do, if you meet those requirements listed there, you will get accepted. We do not cap our enrollment at all. So again, just a recap, steps to studying in the US. Do your research on what schools you're interested in, apply, make sure you're submitting the correct documents. You'll have to go through the visa process, so you'll need an I-20 from the school you plan to attend. You'll need to complete your final documents, any health information, attend your visa appointment, and then make travel arrangements to come to the US. So this is a picture of my director, Samantha Kammer. She is the director of admissions. Feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions. Again, my name is Rachel. You can also reach out to me as well. But we look forward to hopefully seeing some applications and having you on campus next fall. So now we can open it up for questions.
Thank you, Rachel. We have one question. On your application, you stated that you need a 3.0 GPA. So when students from the UK apply, do you want them to convert their A-levels and GCSEs, or would they just list their UK qualifications and your admissions, or you or your director would know what that meant?
Yeah, so you do not need to convert anything. We will convert it on our end. We have our own scales to convert those exact tests. So you would just, once you apply, you just email us your test results and we'll convert it for you.
Great. Another question, is it possible to count any psychological field to the STEM? If so, which one?
There's not, I wouldn't say any links to psychological majors. So if you think about going into like psychology or counseling, that will not be connected to the STEM field. But business is probably the closest to that. So if you study like marketing, for example, that might have that, as well as user experience. So I will say business programs are not STEM designated. That just affects the STEM OPT. But our program called User Experience, this is a combination of looking at consumer psychology and web pages. So in the user experience program, which is STEM designated, you actually build out websites, and then you do a lot of psychology of thinking about how are consumers interacting with websites, what's their pattern, what draws them in to click on something, and you're looking at the psychology to build really successful websites for companies. So I guess there is a psychological tie to that STEM degree, the UX. That one's also less math heavy for sure.
Great. I have another question. For your application, do you require anything additional besides, the good grades? Like, do you look at extracurricular activities or anything else?
We do not. I think we're pretty rare in that. We just really look at your grades. But if you have any extracurriculars within the STEM field, we'll definitely take a look at that for additional scholarship opportunities. So if you've done any robotics groups, we may award an additional scholarship.
Okay, this is a good one. What's the weather like there?
Yeah, so about 8 months of the year, it's either, so in spring and fall, it's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, cooler temperatures. Summer months, so think about May, June, July, August, a little bit of September. It's pretty hot, more around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, even sometimes 90 in July. And then during the winter months, so think about December, January, February, March, there's going to be snow. It gets cold. It'll drop down to sometimes below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but usually it's around 20 to 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. But it does get cold. It snows. The snow will be around for about 3 months. Nobody loves it, but it's definitely manageable to get through.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Fahrenheit, and the equivalent to Celsius. In the summer, it's between like 20 to 30 plus degrees. And then in the winter, it definitely gets below zero. So like minus 15 sometimes if it's a cold winter. So hot summers, cold winters, basically. Those are, but you do get 4 seasons, isn't that correct, Rachel?
Yes, you get all 4 seasons, so you experience everything, which is really cool. Right now, we're moving into fall, so the leaves change color and they turn all bright colors, and then they fall off the trees, and then the snow comes. But you definitely get all 4 seasons, which is cool to experience.
And then there's a question about if you guys have dorms on campus for students.
Yeah, so we do. We have 2 different residence halls that have a lot of freshmen and sophomore in them. We actually require our international students to live on campus their first 2 years. We just want you to get integrated with the community, as well as, it's an easy way to have housing already set up before you come here. So we have 2 residence halls. One is brand new. It has air conditioning, which is the main factor in like updated furniture. The other one does not have air conditioning, but it's a little bit cheaper of a price point. So I can definitely send information to anyone who's interested in applying. I can send you information about the different residence halls.
And do you use the Common App or do you just use your own application?
Yeah, you can definitely apply through the Common App. We are on Common App. But if you don't want to pay the fee for Common App, you can apply right on our website. Again, it's free. And our application, we don't require an essay. I know the Common App does. So if you don't want to write that essay either, you can just apply on our website. Our application total takes about 15 minutes. It's really fast. It's really just to get your name and email to us so we can start reaching out to you.
Okay, just wait a couple more seconds to see if anyone else has any questions.
Yeah.
Whilst we wait, I actually have a question. You said that your test optional. Do you know, because we get this question asked quite a lot, would it be detrimental to a student if they did not submit ACTs or SATs? Do you like compare students that do and don't apply with SATs or ACTs? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, you definitely do not need to submit scores if you do not want to. That is not going to hurt your application at all. So we will not look at someone who submits scores being better or worse in any case scenario. Again, we're just looking at the GPA, and this is for our school specifically. Submitting scores or not submitting scores, we really don't rely on them heavily for a decision. If you don't submit any, that is totally fine. I would say 90% of the applications we get, students do not submit test scores. That's definitely the majority of students are not submitting test scores, and that is totally fine because we do not require it. We're really just looking at your exam scores.
And are your applications rolling or just regular application with a deadline?
Yeah, so we're on a rolling basis. So you can apply whenever. However, I would say because you are all international students and you have to go through the visa process, you have to consider that. You have to add in some time for that. So definitely don't wait too late to apply. We like to see our international students, apply and be committed and get them their visa documents by the end of fall term. So around December, early January, we would kind of want everything set in stone.
Yes, and we advise that your visa, you basically do that 3 months before you go to the US to start your education there. So just keep that timeline in mind when you're actually applying, because it will take some time to actually get your visa appointment and get that sorted as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I also want to add, we did just introduce a new scholarship at MSOE. So if you work with an Education USA representative, so all of you in this webinar are likely working with Education USA already, we do offer an additional scholarship. So you can definitely email me for more details on that. We really want to encourage students to use Education USA facilities in other countries to assist in the visa process. That's really important to us, so we do want to offer that additional scholarship. We just have to see proof that you have worked with the Education USA office in your country.
Yeah, and to do that, you could email us, or you could book a Zoom session. The information's on our website. We reply to emails usually every day, and the Zoom appointments are completely free. You could just book whenever you have any questions, whether it's about the application, questions about finances, finding additional funding to study in the university, or anything else that has to do with studying in the US. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions. So Rachel, I'd like to thank you for your time and telling us about STEM education in the US and also about your school. Like Rachel mentioned, you could always contact her. Definitely contact Education USA if you have any questions. I'm gonna just quickly pop the email to our advising service in the chat box. And like I said, if you do have any questions, please email us, or if you go on our website, there's lots of useful information about applying to US University. And please contact Rachel as well if you have any questions with applying to Milwaukee School of Engineering.
Yes, I just added my email to the chat box, so feel free to reach out to me as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Rachel. And like I said, the video will be available on our YouTube channel next week. So if you have any questions that you didn't remember, you could always watch the video again. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.